Well, hello everyone. Here to show you an example right here of like talking about so far as technology to talk about right here is Airchip, and the one thing that you wanted to talk about right here of talking about is like for technology such as if it's cameras or if it's internet modems, something like that. But I'll be talking about right here is like an internet modem, and then if we'll be talking about for like wireless or it's like for connection from wireless and DSL. And if anybody were to wonder though, I'm like, how do you know exactly about talking about? I'm like, yeah, that with the connections right here, if you have like the DSL right here, and then in order to be able to get the wireless working, that you pretty much have to use, like we say, it's like the security, if you call it, it's like the verification, it's like the entry code. And for the most part, that they usually say though, it's like with the wireless, that wireless, that they usually say that you don't have to deal with no wires and nothing, but just making sure that you go through the menu options, like you just arrange to connect you to the wireless network. And for knowing about with most of the time with wireless network. But if I were to think about, I'm like, yeah, what's the next source of technology could be what you call like for the Airchip, and knowing about I'm like the type of a chip, and I can go ahead and use right here as a red. And let's just say though that this was like an example right here of a mirror, and with a mirror right here, with this mirror right here, and I went ahead and drew right here is an example right here of a tree, and knowing about the tree that you may produce, like which causes like oxygen. But on the other hand, knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that if we were to have a tree right here, and then it would be then the reflection of the tree would be about right here. What do I think the next source of technology is? I guess say it's all hard to say, but I would probably think that more likely it could be maybe satellite, or if anything, it could be what you call for Airchip. Basically, it's a chip. If we know what I'm talking about, that it's a chip that basically, that I'm sure they say that more likely it's expensive, but on the other hand, and knowing about that it's a chip to where that you can connect to, like say the networking, using another type of a connection, and instead of having to use like the old phone lines that basically that you pretty much. Anybody that may wonder though, I'm like, yeah, that knowing about whenever, if we would be going to the store and be buying anything, in the package though, that if you even recognize that knowing about that nowadays, that if we were to be buying any type of software programs, that like maybe the Microsoft Office or something like that, a lot of times it comes like this. We may see it on the store shelves, kind of like this right here, to where that you see right here is like a, if it will be on the racks like this right here, like you got right here, is if it will be on the racks, and then you see the card like this right here, and like on the bottom it would say like say the intro for like I can go ahead and you pick Airchip as example for Airchip, but it would show that the software program, and for knowing about them like that if we were to be downloading and installing the Airchip program to our personal or business computers, knowing about them like usually that if we're more likely seeing a box kind of like this right here, a box like this, to where that you open up a box, and then there's a manual in there and all kinds of stuff that comes out of the box. It's all stuff in a package. But let's just say though, in maybe possibly in 3 years from now, that we may no longer be seeing all this stuff here. It's like talking about like with paperless and stuff, that more likely if you use example maybe like an Airchip is basically a chip kind of like this right here is a card, and on the back side that you have right here is it could be maybe a scratch off code or something like that. And I'm like, anybody say, well, they already have that stuff, but I'm like, well, I'm saying though is that in 3 years that I don't know what all they have nowadays on the shelves. I have not really done the research yet, but let's just say if they have like let's say it's like a scan a code right here, and with this code that they usually say though that it's like in black print, like this right here. it's in black print, and for the most part, knowing about like between fast as a tiger and maybe slow as a turtle, something like that. But knowing about it's like for air chip, is that whenever we buy this air chip and knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that if you're going to be using it for like say for personal or for public reasons, and knowing about if you're going to be connected to a network or anything like that. It's like if it's going to be fast as a tiger, I'm like, climb like a tiger, you climb like a monkey, and sting like a bee or anything like that. But talk about, say, for air chip though, is that you use right here is like a tree as example right here. Talk about a kind of air chip and knowing about that whenever we get connected, kind of like maybe like a mirror. I'm like, if there's any type of connection with a mirror, and anybody might know that's a reflection. Yeah, that's just a reflection. That's not really a just like a shadow. I'm like shadow, the difference between a reflection and then the shadow. I'm like, shadow, I guess, is just light that bounces off of from object. But let's just say though that for the most part that you have right here, talk about, say, with an air chip, there was like a type of chip like this, to where that you use right here is a green. Go ahead and use the center marker. But anyway, you have right here is an air chip, and then draw some examples right here. Some examples right here, like so, that represents for the air chip. The type of air chip that it's like it folds down and it shrinks. Let's just say that you write down, see here, use like a darker color right here to go ahead and draw, like say, an air chip like this. A type of air chip, just like this right here, to where it holds a number of files that could be installed on a device. And if most of us are kind of used to buying something from a store, and then you open up the box and then you see all this stuff inside of the package, and then let's just say if it's the wireless network, let's just say for like the wireless network, that if when we usually that they say that that may come usually like 30-day trial, but let's just say though that if you like the next source of technology, talk of, say, for like an air chip, and basically that they say that it don't run off of a I guess you could say that really it's been like that for so long, and knowing about that there ain't no other network that don't run off the telephone line or any type of networking line. But let's just say though that, like we say with air chip, air chip basically operates by, it's like you say like a little bit different principle. Knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that the type of a device that uses, I say, another type of technology, and basically that they say that that the way it works, so that I could maybe have show an example right here, and usually with most software programs that they would have it to where that they give you an activation code, and with like say a device kind of like air chip, and I made that a little bit smaller. But let's just say though that if the air chip came it's like yellow air chip, yellow right here, it'll be like say highlighted in yellow, something like that. It'll be highlighted in yellow, and there'll be like say an activation code right there, to activate the device, and activate I guess if it's the license or something like that. But it's like activation code. But let's just say for like an air chip, is that if you want to get connected to like a network, a type of connection though, and most of the time with most web pages, they say that, yeah, that quite a few of them are quite different, because you go into the application, and then they may say that even though if you look at a manual that everything that you're working with don't really match for what you see on your screen. But the way I think about it, though, is like with Airchip, that if we want to go ahead and think about the technology for what could be coming in the next couple of years, and anybody probably think about, well, it's going to be satellite. Going to be pretty sure it's going to be satellite. But I'm like, yeah, well, yep, satellite. But let's just say, though, if Airchip that don't get its connection through the telephone line, let's just say if Airchip gets its connection from space. Let's just say that at this right here, they say they go ahead and position a device. If it was like connect your device to connect the Airchip device to like a PC related product, and let's just say that if this is where it was right here, I'm like from you got right here's the window, and then right here will be say for the space for space. You have right here is for space, and I think like, yeah, go ahead and include the moon. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and include the moon and some stars right in there. But let's just say that if Airchip were to operate, it's like by satellite, and the way I would think about it, if anybody were to ask me, what do you think the next source of technology is going to be? I'm like, well, I don't know. If I guess it, then maybe it could be taken. It could be taken, but on your hand, that knowing about anybody to think about, yeah, it could be taken, but on your hand too, that knowing about that, maybe give somebody an idea for what the next source of technology is going to be like. And that knowing about, besides solar technology, whenever the sun goes down and then the moon comes out, and then maybe the less power that's generated inside that device. But I don't know if anybody were to think about if anybody were to pay their allowance or their top dollars for something, and knowing about them, like that if they have any troubleshooting issues or anything like that, knowing about how much money that was involved, knowing about purchasing. But let's just say though, with the Airchip, that the way it operates is by satellite, and with it the type of satellite connection though, that they usually say though, with this Airchip, it's portable, it's lightweight, you can take it anywhere, and knowing about that, I'm like, yeah, that some people that may say it's real a pain if you had to go somewhere within a certain area, and knowing about, I'm like, with the activation code that could start out with maybe letters such as K, KD 4 Z ZT or something like that. 152. I'm like, anybody think about like, yeah, if there's going to be an activation code by saying, I'm like that there's going to be like maybe the sideways 4 or anything like that. Sideways 4K 4KR, sideways 4, and 4KR. But other than that, like talking about right here is that with that type of technology that knowing about for the Airchip, and if we were to say like for Airchip, that if Airchip is going to be maybe twice the size, twice the speed of maybe a regular DSL, or if it's wireless or anything like that. And there may be some people that may not want to mess with all this stuff because they don't know how to use it, that type of stuff. But the way I think about it, though, that I'm like, yeah, that I'm sure by the time you figure it out how to use it, some may say it's hard to keep off of it, because on your hand and knowing about that, yeah, that I can go ahead and draw an example right here of a pony. I'm like, anybody probably think about, I'm like, yeah, you won't never know if you like, to ride a pony or horseback ride, maybe unless if you tried. But like talking about, I'm like, well, I tell you one thing about, by the time I learn it, and then that more likely that there's a chance it's going to be hard for me to keep off the pony. I'm like, yeah. We told you not to ride the pony until you finish your vegetables. But the way I think about it, though, that anybody probably think, I'm like, yeah, once you learn a new skill, sometimes it seems like that, I say about, yeah, that's why that I decided to just stay away from it, because knowing about, I'm like, whenever I learn it, and then they say that, yeah, well, you spent too much time on it. You got connected on Facebook with it or whichever, and knowing about, like, yeah, like, and if you got a time limit, well, if I'm only limited to 4 or 5 hours, and I could tell anybody here that I'm sure that whenever internet was first introduced, I would think it would probably been about early in '93 whenever it was introduced. And thinking about, just knowing about how many people that are on the networking connection now compared to back those couple years ago. That besides that maybe they didn't know how it worked. And let's just say that if they said that there was a time limit, that they say that you could not be on it because they would have to charge you. It's like that you're only allowed maybe 10 hours a day, or 10 hours within that evening between 1 and 5 a.m. or 1 and 5 p.m. or so to be connected on a network. Like if most of us are familiar with like AOL, but let's just say though that with AirChip that it's like a device that's used, that operates, you say, by satellite, and I'm sure that there's other way, like say this card right here that we talk about. It's like with the card right here, a type of card to where once you use it, and then like, yeah, that not everything that you used to see, and basically say that you have a temporary key that it comes with. Like it's like yeah, you go into the store to buy and look on the shelves, and then you see these cards, right? You see these cards, and then you're like, okay, well, any programs that we probably have in stock would probably be right here. Like, well, those are cards. Like, yeah, they're cards, so you can go ahead and whenever you get home or wherever you need to use the programs for, there's an activation code right there on the inside that you go ahead and just enter, go to the internet site, or like you say, like an air AirChip. It's like talk about, say, with the AirChip, that there's like a chip to where that either it's scanned, or that there's a way to go ahead and plug it into your computer and it reads all the files. It goes directly at, as long as the computer recognizes the programs that's on that chip. And anybody probably think about, like, yeah, a type of technology that does not use data. And I'm thinking, though, anybody probably say about that, could that type of technology be found on any type of plastic related material such as a card? And I'm sure anybody may think that they're used to going to the store, like if they want to go ahead and buy maybe the Photoshop or any type of programs like that, they're used to kind of seeing this right here, on the shelves. There's just seeing these type of things on the shelves. If it's text files or text programs or internet security files, anything like that, they're used to seeing something more like this on the shelves. It comes in like a box right here, instead of like a card. And I'm thinking, though, anybody probably think about that, you're going to more likely maybe see stuff like this. A card. A card that more likely they say that they take up less room on the shelves, and if you were to buy them online, and then more likely that you can, instead of having to pay the shipping and handling orders, that they have it to where that you can download the software and install it on your computer. And if you have the AirChip, then basically that I say that, well, you may get a discount. I'm like, if you, but the way I think about it, though, with AirChip, and anybody that may say, like, with the amount of things, how things are expensive are already, knowing about, I'm like, yeah, that they expect to see discounts, knowing about, I'm like, yeah, if you order online or something like that, work out a good deal, a good buy, for something that's on sale, something that you can order, through either through a magazine or something like that. And I'm sure, everybody I say about a lot of kids, I'm sure, have gotten in trouble over the fact about that they see a comic book, on TV or something like that, and then they go ahead and call the number and saying that, like the days you say that you have to be 18 or older or so, to call. But let's just say, though, with AirChip, if there was like a device, such as an AirChip, to where that you can buy that, if that would be like, say, the next source of technology, that what do we do if we were to buy they usually say, though, it's easy to buy it if you see it in the store, but then knowing about how it works, how to install, how to get it running. And for the most part, I'm going to talk about, say, for reflection, know about right here with the mirror, though, is that usually some instructions that usually say is follow the on-screen instructions, but that usually that they may say though that yeah, that I expect it to work automatically. Automatically. I expect it to work automatically, and usually that, like say for the PC or for the Mac, it would say like for auto, besides the opposite of manually. And I'm sure anybody who's operating a computer or any type of device or smartphone or tablet would more likely say though that they well, what's worse between automatic and then manually? That knowing about if you're going to be on your devices almost all the time, that they may say though that manually is okay. I'm like that there are some things I'm sure you can go ahead and do manually, but then compared to automatically though, that some that may say that they don't want to have to deal with the time and trouble just to get something working. So what all that they need to do just to get something working is that knowing about after they buy it, and then they say that, well, with this plastic card that I got at the store, I'm sure that there's a lot more to it, but let's just say though with the plastic card, if you call it the air chip, that what I really want to do? I just want to go ahead and hold it up to the mirror and just take a picture of it. But anyway, if I say there's more than that, but the way I think about though is that that between the things that we don't really want to do, I might talk about that we may not want to spend the money and the time or money to be looking around for this type of stuff either, but just knowing about that, really about the air chip, that if it's a new source of technology, and talking about new sources of technology though that you have right here is like with the DSL and wireless, and if most of us are still using the you see the dial-up, I'm like if most of us are still using the dial-up, but you have right here DSL and then the wireless. And anybody that may wonder though, I'm like if you're going to be a connection on to the networking though, it's like you're connecting on through the Wi-Fi, that knowing that that type of air chip that's going to be able to where it has enough power to be able to power maybe at least 200 computers, 200 devices, around the house, around the business. And some people say that that usually people would upgrade. They would mainly only upgrade the faster it gets. But let's just say though that the smaller it gets as well. But let's just say though that would people upgrade if it becomes more affordable, and if they can find it easier? And I'm sure like nowadays that we use we use the internet knowing about, I'm like that that we don't really anybody probably think about that do we use it the internet? Do we do our gardening and our yard work by the internet? I'm like you talk about that you still see people out in their yards taking care of the weed problem, the weeds, or if it's the bushes, or if it's dandelions, or if anything like that for gardening though. Talking about, I'm like that really that you still may see people gardening, and knowing about, I'm like the type of tool that more likely that maybe a device can use is like talking about if you gotta bring the plants in, well, I'll go ahead and program the computer to go ahead and do that. You gotta bring the flower pots in. Go ahead and bring the flower pots in. Go and program your computer to do that. You gotta mow the lawn. You gotta take care of the pest, like pest control problem, whichever it is. I'm like anything around the house. Knowing about an air chip that can do almost everything, like walk and talk, or maybe that have a brain of its own or something like that. But just knowing about, there are some things more likely the air chip more likely can't do yet, and knowing about, I'm like that talking about can it pick up a couch? Can it move a couch? But on the hand, knowing about, I'm like anybody probably saying about, the air chip may be easy to move, but then, other furniture such as maybe the desk and patio furniture, stuff like that that requires muscle. And anybody probably think about, I'm like, yeah, if there's a type of air chip that has any type of muscles, more likely it's possible that it has storage. Anybody probably think about, I see more storage, more powerful storage, and that knowing about one file that can hold a certain amount of memory and say capacity for megabytes. But other than that, talk about for the air chip of is like between the internet modem and knowing about fastest for technology and space, knowing about the devices right here for the air chip connectivity.